FCO, NTDO 212, complex.
DPS, go. Inco, go. PUS, go. Surgeon, go. Booster, go. Copy that. We have a go from you guys.
This is Talking Sound.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Talking Sound, the only podcast on the internet where -10 is a number to be desired. I am Chris Jordan, your host, coming at you live from the cave here in Austin, Texas. With me tonight is a good old friend of mine, Marcos Morales. How are you doing this evening, Marcos?
Doing all right, Chris. How have you been, man?
Been doing okay. We've been kind of just kicking back here in the studio, catching up. It's been a few years since we've seen each other. We keep track of each other on some social media, things like that, LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff. But Marcos is one of my friends from broadcast, whenever I work broadcast here in Austin. And he is a musician, an amazing video editor, and graphic designer. And really, I wanted to have him on to talk about not only his journey from musician to video editor, from the audio to the video format of life, but what it is to, one of the things you do with your company, Dirt City Studios, is actively make music videos for bands. And that's such a huge part of a media package nowadays for local bands even, is digital media, all that kind of stuff. So I really want to get into what it is to make a music video and how you moved from making music videos into doing an animated series like Bad Spirit Animals, which is just, I look forward to those episodes whenever they come out. They are, I normally watch them at least a good 3 times in a row. Just just over, and it's absolute, I love to catch every little nuance of what goes on in it.
I love making
it's
them.
Hilarious.
Mostly because of the two people I work with. Felix Morgan and Seth Meeks, awesome writers. They're just delightful people, the best kind of people, Yeah. And we had a mutual friend who's the guitar player, singer in my band who hooked us up, and he knows my abilities graphic wise, and he knew Felix and I were high school buddies, but we hadn't kept in touch as much as Mark and she did, and they were writing together, and he would always hear me talk about how I needed a writer, because I'm the Zack Snyder visual stylist, but my stories are empty and just hollow shells for me to decorate with my pretty imagery. So I got, just hung out with them and went to a couple of, public readings. The first time I heard them do a bit live was at Home Slice. A while back. They were doing a literary event there, and they were hosting it, and they were hilarious. I thought, these guys are, they should have a show. And then I was hooked, and I started going to more of their events, mostly literary events where they were talking or, doing a game show style thing. And they always wanted to do a taxidermy animal show thing. And I was looking for a project to work on. And they threw it at me, and I was like, I know how to do that. Adobe just had come out with a character animator. They had fixed so many bugs in it, and rigging an animated face is so easy now. It's insane how easy it is. Yeah. And I was like, I can understand this, and I've always wanted to do a cartoon. I want to rig your taxidermy animals. Yeah. And so that became the journey in my deeper dive into animation. I was always a camera guy,
Yeah.
Because I'm a horrible drawer. I have these visions in my head, and the only way to get them out is...
and you say that. I like to consider myself fair to midland skilled in Photoshop. I do all of my own web design, all that kind of stuff. I do all the graphics packages for my websites. So I do all right. But I'm nowhere near on your level. And you do quite a bit of After Effects work, things like that as well.
I spend a lot of time by myself in a dark room.
You do.
Away from people.
Well, and you've worked in broadcast for years, and that's part of what you do is build graphics packages and things like that.
That was actually my film school, was my introduction to broadcasting. I actually got a bachelor's in journalism for writing on the deathbed of the writing journalism awesome industry was dying.
The end of print.
And, well, I just figured out that, I just wanted to be Hunter Thompson and have a great time and have people enjoy reading my adventures. And nobody was hiring Hunter Thompson.
Yeah.
And I worked the last 2 years of my college degree, my junior, senior year. I got a job at the local newspaper and figured out that I hated writing news. Hated it. So as I graduated, I quit that job and got a job working with my friend at a TV station, cutting commercials. And I'd edited 2 things in my life, and it was on tape decks, at that point. So I was a photography guy, and I would do the dark room, develop the film, and all that kind of stuff. But the technological side, I could never get my hands on because it was always so expensive. And you had to go to a school to touch it, or you had to work in a production house. And I lucked out, and I got a job. My interview, I took a video from my band, which was the first music video I ever made, by the way, and still has one of the highest view counts, actually. It was just a collection of tour clips that we would tour the Pacific Northwest a lot. And I took it into my interview and showed the lady, and she goes, okay, first off, don't ever show anybody that ever. And second, I'm going to go ahead and give you the job because we need a guy. We need a guy, and your buddy vouched for you. So I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, God. Like, I could have done that without showing you the clip.
Yeah, she has never show that to anyone again. But that was my first music video, my first real one anyway. And I learned how to cut while I got paid. I learned how to cut on an Avid, so I got industry standard equipment, which is my phone can do better processing than those machines we were cutting on.
Yeah.
It was my education, and I got paid poorly to do it and ventured out on my own from there.
Well, and that's what I want to get into is some of your journey going from musician to video editor. How did that end up taking place?
I was always a photography guy. I got a pretty artistic family, pretty creative, flooded with creatives in my family. And I actually got into photography because I heard in high school they would let you leave campus if you took the photography class. So I thought, well, that's for me. Get out of this institution and see the outside world, And so my mom had an old camera, like the old advanced, little crank and the little standard, 35 millimeter or 16 millimeter, whatever. It's long gone. That technology is long gone now. And I would do the dark room and wind it all up, and I really got into it. I took it
actual film splicing, and
I took it because I wanted to just be outside, and then I found myself outside taking pictures and falling in love with framing things and making, symmetry and contrast and all these things were kind of always in me. And but that was the most technologically advanced camera I had my hands on for years until I was also musician, so I got into a band around the same time I got into photography. And incidentally enough, I'm still playing with that drummer that he's the longest relationship I have in my life.
Wow.
Hetero life mate.
Wow.
And I got into a band with him, and we would go into different bands, and then we'd get back together in other bands, and then we finally got one that hit. And around that time, I came into a handy cam, just a hobbyist handy camera. Yeah. And I went on those tours and had all this cool footage of us having fun, and I learned how to cut on all that stuff. And jump from that to, churning out commercials for clients and learning the structure of the deadline and, conveying your message to someone else verbally clear enough, for them to latch onto it enough to give you the green light. That's had to talk to a lot of different people.
It's hard. It's really hard. I myself in the live AV field, especially in the corporate corporate realm, have to do a lot of glad handing with clients, especially with my company doing things. Have to do a lot of client handling. Have to do a lot of.
It helps when they're cool.
Quoting things out.
Yeah.
You know, and really coming up with like a value for your services, that kind of stuff. So it's odd. It's strange.
It's hard
the
to,
first few times you do it. It really is an uncomfortable situation.
Putting a dollar sign or dollar value on your life, essentially. Like, well, this many hours I have to live in life, and I'm going to sell some of this to you.
Yeah.
That's essentially
and
what it is.
Here's my passion. Give me some money.
You might as well do something that you're passionate about. Yeah. You know, if someone's going to pay you for it. 'Cause otherwise, if I had the money, I would just pay myself to do all of my own stuff.
Well,
all the time.
And I can fully agree with that. I myself, especially working with I don't get to choose a lot of the shows that I'm a part of. Like, people will call me up and say, "Hey, are you available to run a video mixer at, the Hilton Wednesday through Friday?" Yes. And I show up and it's like, "Well, hi, welcome to this crazy thing that you might not support." And it's like, oh. But dang it pays my bills. So you don't, even though like I live for what I do, I don't always get to be a part of something that I truly believe in. And even last night on the Dudes and Beer podcast, we were talking about that with our guests, the fact that I love the fact that I can give my son that freedom to understand that, yes, it's important to have a job. Yes, it's important to have a work ethic, but done properly. And if you have skills to do it, you can absolutely make a living doing what you love every day and not be miserable in a cubicle.
Right.
Just answering phones or doing something that you utterly don't believe in. Like, at the very least, it's my terms. Right. Like, at the very least, I'm at least getting the rate that I ask for. And one of the reasons I get the rate I ask for is because, I might have to do a gig that I just personally don't agree with.
I've stopped doing that, actually. Since I moved here, I haven't done a thing that I would not want to do.
Yeah.
My day job is the most exciting job I've ever had. My extracurricular job with the music videos and the occasional cartoon. Yep. It's all for mostly for me and my friends' bands who are luckily, in the industry and touring the world, and they're like spreading the whole, the video goes far when I make them for the guys I make them for these days. And, I'd still do videos for good friends that don't. You get 300 plays or whatever. I want to make cool videos. I want to make cool videos for my friends.
Well, that's just it. Even without them being posted for other people, you'd still be making video content of some sort.
I would make
regardless.
it for myself. I'd make it for my kids.
Like, I post a lot of stuff. I'm making it anyway.
Right. That's how I am, man. I
like my music. I'm the exact same way. If it's all out there, it's for sale. I don't care if I make plum nickel one off of it. I'm making it anyway. And there's go to a little selfish plug. Go check out artofchristopherjordan.com. It's growing, but right now there's probably about 15 hours of music on there between stuff. So there's a lot. And that's just it. With such a palette to work with between music, video, how was it for you to make that transition? I know we already talked about how you made the transition, but how did it feel for you to get into that and start doing it? And
it felt great. The first one I made, the first one that I made for my band, The Dead Sea, it's called Sons of Silence. You can look it up on YouTube. It's still out there. And I didn't know it was going to be a music video. It was just a collection of our tour videos.
Yeah.
The second one I made, though, I was like, this one's a music video. We're doing this. It was for my friend Marty's band called For the Suffering. I think that was the second one I made. And we went out into this like junkyard and shot a bunch of cool stuff in the middle of nowhere for the suffering. Yeah, that was a fun one. And I like made a concerted effort. I'd already been making commercials, local commercials, but I'd been learning the tricks of lighting and, like how to use the camera and make sure it's recording for one, make sure there's batteries in the bag. Yeah. I had all
the real learning technical hurdles.
So I had an inverter, like hooked up to the battery of the van. And lights out there. There was like a big tail from this airplane out there, and it was awesome. We played the music through the guitar cabs, and played it live out there, and that was a learning experience. But I was hooked. Like from then on, he actually helped me. He sent out a few recommendations, and I got one from this band called Cryoburn at the time, and I was just starting to get serious about filmmaking, and I just made my first short film that was it was like a 7-minute that I did with my buddy from the commercial production facility. We borrowed the jib one day, took the truck, and had this 15-foot jib with the weights, like heavy duty with a beta cam on it out, And I used some of that and made a music video for my band, The Dead Sea, like a real music video. And I did this one for Cryoburn that was just all, scripted. I'd storyboarded for the first time ever and planned out my shoot and really had honed my skills at that point of coordinating the location, actors, everything myself, except for makeup. I had the actor who was a legit actor and was working the shoot with me, and he got there and I was like, do you have any makeup? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh man, you can't plan for everything until you figure out that you need it. You don't have
well, and that's part of what I want to get into real quick is the process of making a video and some of the things that you actively need to get it done. Because you talk about storyboarding, things like that. What is the actual process of making a music video? Just walk us through the basics.
It usually just starts with listening to the music. I mean, when I get official commissions, a friend will just message me and say, hey, and in the biggest celebrity name drop case, my friend Ethan McCarthy fronts this band called Primitive Man, which has been like the biggest, most famous videos I've done to date. Right? Some of the most famous ones. And he was in this band called Clinging to the Trees of a Forest Fire when I met him. And once I figured out how to do the video stuff, I would run into him on tour or like see him when he came down to Texas on tour, and I would be like, hey man, I want to make a video. I know how to do this now. This is I'm into it. It's actually looking good. I would be proud to have one of my videos finally. And he was always kind of into it, but just there was turmoil with his band, and he hooked up with his friend John Campos, who they started Primitive Man together, and are really the creative force behind that band. So when he hits me up, the first time was one of those, one of my first leaps out of just straight photography. I was doing green screen stuff now, and I saw Sin City, and the behind the scenes changed my life. I was like, holy crap, that's how he shot all that? I'm shooting in the garage. I'm painting it green. We're doing this.
And I remember that's right as we met. Was when you were finishing, you were about halfway through with your garage studio project. And that was a lot of inspiration for me as far as things like that and home studio and that kind of stuff goes. So I'm glad to hear. Are you still in the same space? Are you still doing stuff there?
That's my spot. It's hot right now though, so I can't. I was gonna shoot something with a friend of mine, Polar Bear Comedy. If you look this guy, funny mofo. I'm trying to get him in there to shoot something, to like a funny skit.
Okay.
And it's just too hot. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it's like it was like 113 the other day. It was crazy.
I'm not going in.
Yeah, no. I want to say it was Guero's Tacos that I saw online that had the sign outside that said "Satan called. He wants his weather back."
Oh yeah.
It is insanely hot. But that's one of the things that you really do have to remember, that whenever you're doing a DIY project, that whenever even this studio right here, it's all right. It's a decent space.
That's a great spot.
It's not, yeah. It's fantastic.
Jimi Hendrix on the wall.
Yeah, some Jimi Hendrix, some Megatron and Spider-Man, and it's good stuff. But we work really hard to make our spaces. We work really hard to make them functional for what we need. And I think that's one of the most important things, especially whenever you're talking about going into the studio as a band in general, whether it be for audio or for video, is understanding exactly, like, when someone comes to you, because as the owner of the HC Universal Network, I have people come to me. I want to start a podcast. Okay, great. What do you want to do a podcast about? I don't know. Okay, awesome. What are you good at? Well, I'm pretty good at talking. All right, so you want to do a podcast? Yeah. Okay. Do you have any equipment? No, I don't have any equipment. All right.
Gotta get some of that.
Do you have an idea of what you might want to talk about? No, not really. Okay. So it's like there's a checklist, have these, and whenever people ask me, I typically send them my podcast checklist. Same thing whenever I do website design, like, here's my one page.
Yeah.
Fill out my one page and we'll move from there. Like, that's going to give me, like, what color schemes are you looking for? What kind of web page? Give me like 3 links of web pages that you like, so I can at least, like, consider templates, designs, things like that. Are you looking for a 1 column, a 1 page? What kind of design are you looking for? And it's very much the same way when it comes to video. I did quite a few product videos back in the day, and corporate videos, that kind of stuff. And there are some that are narrative and some that aren't. And it's very much that way with music videos. So what are some of the things that a band needs to, like, the 5 things that if you were going to work with a client, like one of your buddies calls you up, says, "Hey, Marcos, I'm going to be in town for a weekend. I'd love to spend a day and shoot a video." Number 1, can you shoot a video in a day?
Oh, yeah. I can barely string a production along more than 2 days, just because, over the weekend is how I do it, or an overnight, late night, because, I have a family, a day job.
Yeah.
And you got a life, man. But part of my life, I want to make great visual work, and to be able to pair it with some of my favorite music. Primitive Man is one of my favorite bands on the planet. All right. They are and to be able to be a part of that, part of the creative process, and have, my name associated with their work and something that everyone's proud of, it's better payment than money, but I'll take money too.
Yeah.
It's there.
Money's a good thing.
I like being able to finish something and put it out for everyone else to see. It's like taking something that's inside my body that's weighing me down, and I get to put it out and manifest it physically and put it on display for everyone to know. Well,
and as you prepare for that process, though, what are the things that you ask somebody to bring to the table as the artist? As someone coming to you and saying, "I want to make a video," what are at least 5 things that you need?
Yeah, that's a hard one. It always starts differently. I mean, with Ethan and John, they're very hands-on. They're very involved in the creative process, and we work like a team. And in my latest commission that I will not name until it drops. I don't want to jinx anything.
No.
But I'm deep in production on it right now, and I'm on a new level with that one. So for Primitive Man, I broke the barrier into green screen camera work, and then with this new round of stuff, the first one was going to be my band, Dining with Dogs. I was working on an animated project that I could do quicker than using like a 3D renderer to fill the whole scene and the whole shot.
Okay.
I render out pieces from Cinema 4D, and then I'll incorporate them into like a 2D 2.5D atmosphere in After Effects.
Oh, wow.
So it's just like, flat panels, but I don't have to worry about calculating all the, each individual polygon shot, like the same character,
Yeah, copy and pasting vectors and things like that to
render out walk cycles and like little motions, and then take those image sequences and I get an animation done faster that way, because I don't have the processing power. I'm on a budget here, and I'm sure like most of the people interested in production are budgetarily minded.
Well, and it's good, number one, just to hear the software that you're using to accomplish what you're accomplishing. A lot of people wouldn't even be willing to give out that information, like what I'm using to get the job done.
I learned from the internet, and it shouldn't be a secret. Whenever I talk to a newbie who wants to go to film school or something, or get into the business, and I tell them, okay, were you going to put any money towards your school? Do you have anything together right now? Take that money. If you want to do video production, buy the most expensive camera and the most expensive computer you can get, and then buy some internet connection and Google whatever you want to learn.
Yeah.
You will find somebody online teaching it. And I love this. I love the democratized access to all this information. Yeah. Some people are worried that, because it's so easy, and the ease of access to this information will flood the market with people who can do it. But it doesn't make people good just because they would know how to do something.
And, it's interesting, because I say all the time, just because you're good with a still camera doesn't mean you're good with videography.
Yeah, exactly.
They're both lenses, they're both apertures, they're both lighting, but it's different. And I come at it from a point of view, because before I even did corporate AV and everything else, I did live event videography and that kind of stuff. And frequently I'd have people like, my reception video was not nearly as zazzy as I thought it'd be. The pictures came out fantastic. I'm like, inside, not to my client, but inside, my immediate snarky comment that if I can see it playing out, like as a movie, where it's like, the funny thing is, they captured a 30th of a second. Whereas the other 30 seconds around that 30th of a second really sucked ass.
Yeah.
And I can't make them not suck ass.
Hold the shot.
I can't make your party be awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. He's getting some great shots of some people laughing and having a drink. I can get the same shot of some people laughing and having a drink, but it's 30 seconds, because there's the concept in video of the way the mind works, the way that the mind perceives information. There's a reason why dissolves are set at 30 seconds. It's literally your brain shifting gears. It's allowing your brain to shift gears and go, oh, something different is coming up. Okay. As opposed to if you look at action movies where it's cut, and it's meant to discombobulate you. It's meant to get you more active. Yeah. So as opposed to a still photographer, which is where you came from,
right?
In the realm of still photography, where you can line up and take the most epic shot in the world with the best bokeh and lighting and perfect filtration and aperture and everything else.
If you got the gear.
You may not be in the place to be able to do that with video. necessarily, depending on your situation, depending on the venue that you're shooting in. Like, you're shooting in a studio, so fortunately...
We shoot in a field, too. It's, it's whatever,
Sure.
Full service.
Yeah.
Well, now animation. That's my next leap forward.
That's just it. It really is preparation. It comes down to knowing what your expected desired result is, and applying the knowledge and the equipment that you have to attain the best result possible given the circumstances.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's hard. Sometimes you're dealing with budgetary constraints. You don't get to use the camera or lenses you want. You
can shoot on your phone now. You could make
You can.
You could make a passable production off of your phone.
Well, let's get into that a little bit. What do you typically shoot with?
Well, I haven't actually shot anything all year. All of my focus has been in animation recently.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff the fruits of my labors are about to become present. They're about to become known. But it took me the better part of this year to really expand those skills. And so my Canon 1DX Mark II is sitting in a bag right now.
All right.
Not getting any love. And that's the nicest camera I've ever had. I've slowly traded up. That Handycam I was referring to earlier came out of, put some money together and got that camera, and then sold it to get the newer Handycam, sold that to get, something else. I don't even remember, somewhere there. I got a Canon XL2 at one point, and I thought, now I'm in the biz. I had the whip zoom lens on it. Yeah. Still doing HDV, but oh no, that was just a DV. It was just DV, but I was the next level with that.
Yeah.
And then the 5D Mark II changed everything, and I actually got the Nikon, what was it, the D70?
Okay.
Or the first one that shot video. It was 720, but it changed. I got that. I sold all my Handycam gear and everything I could get my hands on to sell, and bought that camera. And then saw the news for the 5D Mark II and sold the Nikon while it still had some value and traded up. And that's kind of one of the games, of the production games. I watch the market for gear, and I try and trade it out while it still has value. If I've got the money to put in to get the next piece. Yeah, to upgrade into the next Sometimes realm. I get lapsed. I mean, sure. I have a Mac Pro 2010 with like a dual 12 core. It was the shit when I got it. It was the fastest thing in town, and now it's worth less than a good laptop, Yeah. It's completely outdated. And it's rendering right now. It's my workhorse. It's spitting out frames from Cinema 4D, so when I get home I can, collect some more images and put my next work together. Put
your next realm of polygons together, things like that. And even today, I was at home doing computer networking, things like that, for my video rig for the weekend. And it really is a never-ending process. I know my wife has asked me numerous times over the years we've been together, like, how many times will the studio change? And it's like, it is an ever-evolving process. Always in flux. You will always find, at least if you're using your equipment enough, you're using your equipment enough, there will always be, like, you've set it up, and about a week later you'll be like, man, I really wish I'd have done this. Like, now that I'm like in the middle of workflow, it would be a little bit better to have it set up this way. Now in your place, in your space, do you have things?
Hey, that's what I was going to tell you. You're talking about changing your space up.
Yeah.
Like I have, it's just wide open in my house. It's right off the living room. And it's, there's no separation. I have no isolation until everybody goes to sleep.
That's tough.
So I have to do a lot of
you've got quite the brood.
I have, yeah. Just got my third one just came in.
Wow.
Unlocked a new player.
Wow. How long ago was that?
Last one. This was a little over 2 months ago.
Wow, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
I had no idea.
Yeah, see, I'm doing that too.
Dude, that's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It's awesome. I love being a dad.
Yeah.
I'm done, though. I'm shutting down the shop. We're taking my winnings and leaving the table.
We've cash out.
Yeah,
cash out while you're ahead.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of my view of it at 43, because my boy's a year now.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, like, you know, I know a kid needs a brother, a sister, things like that. He's got plenty of cousins.
He's got friends.
He's got a couple chickens. He's got a couple cats.
You don't feel any duty for it. That's how it tricked us the first time.
Yeah.
We're like, we need to make a friend.
It's one of those, like, no, we don't. You're saying we need to make a friend, not we. All right, not the plural, all of us. You mean just the two of us. All right, y'all don't get to deal with that all the time.
So that's it. I have no peaceful place at home, you know. But I actually, this was, you were talking about changing the studio up. I just changed it back, just to like rearranged it. I have this love seat, kind of like this one over here. It's just like a big, deep love seat. I can curl up in it, take naps on it.
Take a power nap.
I scooted my workstation because it's just kind of like minimal, like little legs with a glass top thing, and I could slide the legs under the couch, under the love seat. So I scooted the desk up to it, made a little cocoon where I was spending nights in this little cocoon where I'd wake up in spurts and like do a little bit, you know, like set up some keyframes.
I got an hour and a half for it to render. I can take a nap.
I got to test this. Yeah, like I'm just taking it. Yeah, you know. And I just changed it back from that. It was too much. I couldn't do it anymore.
And you know, though,
she's like, you never come to bed anymore. Yeah. I'm like, well, every time I come to bed, we end up with another kid.
Yeah.
Trying to save us here.
You got to let me work, woman. And you know, that's a danger with me and the home studio. I actually, it was great whenever we moved into our house because Amy finally got her own space. For the longest time, we were right down the road from the broadcast studio in a 2-bedroom apartment. And probably about 6 months before my baby was born, we moved into our rent house, and it was like, oh, Amy's got her own office now, and well, now that's the baby's room. So it was one of those like, okay, I need somewhere to be able to like go and write. Yeah. Whenever you're gone. Because, you know, I'm on the road a good 15, 20 days out of the month, stuff like that. So it's like, I need somewhere that I can go and write. Like, there's here, but there's noise. There's my computer, but it's my computer. Like, you're stepping up to my desk, which actually has like 8 pieces of rack equipment in it to be able to like dial into iHeart stations and do shows. Yeah. Like, it's overwhelming if that's not your thing, you know? And she's a podcaster, but that desk ain't her thing. It's overwhelming. There's too much there. So, yeah.
The clutters the mind, too. That's kind of what I felt into, like a rat's nest.
It does. And it's funny.
Whirlwind of creativity.
And it's interesting that you say that because I brought it up on this show more than once that the battle for horizontal space is the biggest battle in a studio. Yep. And I had a therapist tell me years ago, and there is no better example of it than your typical studio, that your clutter is an external manifestation of what's going on inside. And just before Amy was like, listen, I need a space. Can we please do something? And I had a small table, and I did some measurements, and it was
I saw you post that picture.
It was like, you know.
Now she has a space.
I was like, if I take the trim off the inside of this closet, that table will fit exactly. So I took the 2 legs off and put it in sideways, and then flipped it over, and then crawled up underneath and put the legs back on. And It's like her own little space. It's all decorated in there. It's got sound panels up for her microphone. You know, like she's got her own Skype rig. You know, it's like, here's everything you need to. You're connected to the home network, so if you do need to edit some video, you can drag and drop your stuff into this folder and hop over to the editing machine, and
it's really important.
Open it up.
It's really important to have like an organized space for me. It
really is.
Personally, I know people who can function in chaos, and I actually love functioning in chaos, but I'm trying to make it order around me. Like I love writing in public places. You know, I would.
So does my wife.
It's just it's like white noise to me, and it helps clear my mind enough to focus on what I'm doing. And when I can take breaks, like mental breaks from looking at the page or looking at whatever it is, a project I'm working on, take a break and I can look around and people watch for a minute. Maybe I get inspiration for a pose or something like that. Yeah, if I overhear some words, I jot them down. I'm like, oh, that's funny. I'm gonna steal that.
Well, and that's just it. You can draw a lot from what's going on, just conversation wise around you. It trips a lot of people out whenever I'm out to dinner or lunch with people. They don't understand one of the reasons why I'm such a reclusive, private person. Like, I started Dudes and Beer because literally the only people I hung out with were techs. I went to work and I went home and I was like, I am almost a 40-year-old man. I need a life. Like, I've read all these studies about guys live longer if they have like one dedicated night to go out and hang out with guys and like shoot pool. And so I'm going to start a show. Like, funny, my relaxation, still work.
Yeah.
So how are you going to laugh? How are you going to relax? I'm going to start a broadcast. That's how I'm going to relax.
It's not enough for me. I have to have a band too.
Yeah, exactly.
I have that regular night, Monday nights usually. Yep. My wife knows, and she's sad about it sometimes. And I'm like, babe, it's Monday night. I got to go jam.
You know what night it is?
We play music.
It's the same night every week for years now.
Yeah, she misses me, so that's good. I mean, she likes me still.
Well, a little absence is a good thing sometimes. I definitely noticed that since I've been on the road, Amy and I have been a whole lot closer in a lot of ways. A little bit distant in some others.
You have to have your own life, but especially for creatives. I read this quote. It was in the extremes, but this quote from Danny Elfman. I think I was watching.
Boingo, man.
But he told his wife whenever he got married and she wanted to have kids, he goes, well, you're going to have to be okay with raising them on your own because my job is very demanding. Yeah. I thought, oh, damn, how do you... She still made kids with you after you told her that? She's still down?
That's straight up. That's straight up.
Like, that's
like...
strong hand.
It's one of those... Amy and I had the conversation. It wasn't a very easy conversation. I mean, we had it, I guess, shortly before I came to work with you on broadcast, where she was still working her day job and everything else. She hadn't gone full time with teaching and all that kind of stuff. But she would see that I was out doing corporate AV and everything. I get well compensated for my skill level. But she would be inordinately upset that I would go and work for like 2.5 days.
Like, honey, we have to eat.
Oh, no. My 2.5 days was more than she made in a week at her 40-hour-a-week job.
Yeah, well.
And it'd be like, I'm sorry?
Sorry.
It takes a lot of people to build a house. The people that do the framing don't get as much as the people that do the tile work and the finishing woodwork.
The guy who drew it gets more than like all those guys.
That's just how it works. And I spent years in my industry to get to the point where I'm at.
It takes time. I didn't want to believe it at first. I'm like, no, I'm going to be the best there is.
Yeah.
In 6 months.
No. In 6 months, even after 3 years of school, you're gonna have a little bit of a challenge in front of you.
You need anything from?
Sure, I'll have a beverage. Thank you.
What are you drinking?
Surprise me. I'll take an orange can, actually. Don't surprise me. Be very predictable. Oh, careful now.
I had to grab myself a Topo Chico. Got the Silver Surfer bottle opener.
That's right. Little Norin Rat action helping you out.
Got both flavors of this Topo Chico.
Oh, yeah, man. The lime is where it's at. It's good stuff. I love it. And it really is... I find it essential, and I said it for years whenever we lived in the apartment. Of course, I started working with you probably about 6-7 months after my wife and I got married. And, when are you going to have a baby? When are you going to have a baby? And straight up, I was like, as soon as I'm out of this apartment.
You know how that happens.
Yeah. Biologically. No, I mean, it was one of those, like, I refused to have a baby while I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment because my second bedroom is my studio and workspace and my workbench.
People do more.
Quite honestly, and I tell people straight out, like, maybe it's selfish me or something like that, but I refuse to resent my child. And I'm here to tell you, if that happened, I would resent my child. Like, if I had to give up my entire studio, my entire, like, design space, my entire workbench for building circuits, designing circuits, doing my work, which is where I found my wife at whenever we had the baby. And I've been in a state of depression for the longest time. I've told her I would make room for her. No, that's your space, this and that. And then finally, whenever she came around, it was like, oh my God. And it's been so great over the last week getting that project ready and doing it. And now that it's done, it's like, sweet. Number one, now it's like a concerted effort to keep the studio clean, to keep things right, because it's not just my space. Before, it was like she would go in and just use the computer to do some bills or maybe upload her podcast episode on the computer because it's got everything locked in with passwords, but now it's like it's a shared space and it's great, and it's a totally different vibe of creativity going on in my studio. I'm really enjoying it.
You really got to find the magic places, to bring out the muse, bring out the inner muse. Well, and
with the muse in mind, where did the muse strike for the creation of Bad Animal Spirits?
Bad Spirit Animals.
Or Bad Spirit Animals.
Which has just launched on Amazon Prime, by the way.
Yes, really?
Yes.
Are you serious?
It's, for Amazon Prime members, you can just stream all you want. So that's...
Oh, my God. I'm going home and binge watching that with my wife tonight. I watched it
on my TV, and I was
that
like, oh, my gosh.
Awesome. Huh. Just so you know, as soon as this posts up and everything else, you can check it out on Alexa.
Hey, there we go.
You can just...
reaching the masses here from...
Alexa, play Talking Sound Podcast. And you'll hear your voice come over Alexa.
Alexa, play Bad Spirit Animals.
Yes. and it's wild stuff. Whenever you start seeing your things getting out on those platforms and everything else, where it's now in front of hundreds of thousands of millions of people, at least where they have the option to see it. And YouTube is one thing.
Oh yeah, YouTube is impossible.
But it's the second biggest search algorithm on the internet. There's Google, and then there's Google's little brother, the adopted little brother. Technically, very highly adopted. They paid a lot of money to adopt YouTube. And bring it into the quote-unquote genetic family of Google.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a whole episode just Google. In that. But, it's odd because even if you're popular...
I welcome our Google overlords.
Oh, absolutely. I love our Google overlords. I love nothing more...
Please spare me.
My favorite phrase lately is, Alexa, play very best of Hall & Oates. I've been on a Hall & Oates kick for about a month and a half. I'm not even going to lie.
Nice.
But... it's interesting. How did you how did that move come for you, and how has the process been since you started? Because it's been right at a year. That's
for Unanimous?
Yeah.
It was really just an experiment in, hey, can we make an animated podcast?
And I remember whenever it started that's...
We toyed with the idea for the longest time, and it took, countless meetings for coffee and hanging out, and which is really my intentions were to hang out with these two awesome writers and by osmosis suck up some sort of talent, some writing talent,
some writing
from being
style
around them. Maybe their talent is just falling off, and
a little more panache.
Hey, some talent fell on the ground. Can I have some of that?
Can I just touch your cloak?
And so
I don't know why they're wearing a cloak.
I just wanted to be around good writers, which is it's important for you to be around people who are better at things than you are.
Number one, as a father and as a former youth minister, I could not say that any better. It's probably some of the best life advice I've ever gotten is surround yourself by people that you want to be like.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Buddy, I work with people like Michael Dell. I work with people like Steve Forbes, stuff like that on a regular basis. I'm working with their handlers. And they will say the same thing. Well, I'm not working with them. They're just speaking at the shows that I'm running camera at or mixing video at, but I am privy to all these major designers and stuff like that, hearing them speak as keynote speakers. And that is the one common thread. And if you look at it, that was the brilliance of Steve Jobs. He had the concepts, he had the idea, but he was not the engineer.
Yeah, he's the man at the top, remembered for all of his greatness.
Yeah, and he surrounded himself by people that were engineers. He surrounded himself by people that were better than himself
at all of those things.
At all those things
to be involved with.
Yeah. Because those are the people you're going to be going to anyway. Those are the shoulders you're going to be standing on regardless, and the brains you're going to be picking. You may as well be in close with them and bring them in even closer.
Oh, yeah.
And share with them whatever you can so that they're willing to share with you.
Yeah, I love it. That's why when you asked me if I didn't mind teaching or, telling people my secrets, I want the bar to be raised. Mm-hmm. I want it to be outlandish, and just get better and better and better, and just progress as a society is, it should be a goal we all strive for. Yeah. Now I'm getting super idealistic.
Well, I know.
Generally, idealistically.
Yeah. Well, in theory, because it is a communicative spirit that goes on when it's creation, when it's creative. Even as an audio engineer live in venues and everything else, the bands that I resonated with, that I loved working with, were the ones that at the back of the room at the soundboard, I could feel the synergy washing over the crowd. I could feel the waves of energy coming from the stage, and just even feel their communication, especially jam bands. Once I'd worked with them 2 or 3 times, or it was oh, I know where they're going. I would hear that one discordant note and see them all look at each other and be like, oh yeah, I need to dial in this delay. This is where they're going, and it was so cool whenever that is where they were going. And it was yeah, I've worked with them 3 times. That's awesome. I was just so dialed into vibe and to working with people. And it really does become that way, where, number one, not only do you tie into that and do you key into it, and learn to recognize it rapidly, but you really learn to feed off of it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can channel it and use it.
Yeah.
Focus on something, and then you can turn out an awesome project.
Well, I think it's really the synergy that happens, much like on stage. You're a bassist. You're tied into the groove of that right foot of your typical drummer, and there's just an unspoken rhythm, an unspoken bond that happens.
Yeah.
And when it happens,
you just lock in, and then
you just feel it. It takes nothing more than a look or a head nod for you both to know what you're talking about.
There's a room full of people and everyone is moving in unison, and you're like one of the sources of the sound that's driving this movement, like a big amalgamated mass of consciousness, for a brief moment in time in this small part of the world. These people were locked in on a wavelength, and
well, and I think one reason why I appreciate the video realm so much, because even though I was an audio engineer by trade, I have become a video engineer over the years through my broadcast work, not just with you, but prior to that, doing event videography, doing everything else. I migrated from being an analog audio engineer into being an analog video editor and cameraman and things like that. And for me, I think a lot of it was to do with that synergistic feel, because it was very much, whenever I was doing audio or camera, following the motion of an event, things like that. Even whenever I worked broadcast, it was the fact that there's only one chance. They say, right now, this is live. There's no editing done in post. I don't go through and get rid of stuff because
you're not gonna cut out the shit.
No, I don't give a shit. Okay. Don't give a fuck even.
Oh my!
Oh my! And it's one of those. To me, it is that live synergy. It is that complete circle of things happening and learning to understand each other, learning to see where each other want to go, and let's go on that journey together. And I think, as a former teacher, that's a lot of what video work is understanding the way that the mind works, understanding the way that we interpret things visually, understanding how to visually represent what a storyteller might be trying to get across, what a lyricist might be trying to get across, because we learn auditorially, tactily, and visually.
In all of those music videos, there's all of that together. It's, filmmaking in general.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. I was going to say,
it's a little hard for the viewer to get something tactile out of it. Right now.
In a live show, I mean, you can feel. Yeah. You can feel the bass.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying right now. Like, you should come on the Dudes and Beer podcast. Like, tune in next Tuesday when we have virtual reality developer on, because he's great. Like, Radical Empathy Foundation is doing some awesome stuff where it's like, learn to step into the foot of people that have been human trafficked.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it actively teaches, like, empathy to detectives and stuff like that who are working on cases. Like, what's it like to be inside of the mind of someone who's been trafficked as a human being?
Oh, my gosh.
It's a mind trip, dude. It's crazy stuff. And to know that, like, that's the next step. That's the next step in video is that full immersion. Where do you see yourself going with that kind of technology, with VR, things like that, especially in the realm of Maya 4D, that kind of stuff, in the realm of 3D, 4D creation? My first venture into anything VR related, I did a 360 render that I post on Facebook and YouTube, and because they have I shot a podcast with the Samsung, the little egg. Oh, camera.
Yeah? So I did a little test podcast with a friend of ours. You probably know her, but wait until it happens for it to real. But I did an open for it as well in a fractal generating program called Mandelbulb 3D, which is awesome. It's an open source fractal generator program that
a link to that.
Yeah. Oh, I'll send it to you. Mandelbulb. I think it's mandelbulb3d.net or something like that. But it's it's a open source, so the user group on Facebook really, Manable Maniacs really like advanced my learning in that software.
Nice, because like I was showing you beforehand, I'm doing quite a bit of that live, things like that. So I'm always about any way I can generate my own fractals, any way I can generate my own kind of stuff.
Manable 3D,
and it's some amazing things that happen out there in that world nowadays. So as things develop, animation wise, stuff like that, where do you see bad spirit animals going? Like, what's the future of bad spirit animals?
I was just talking to my friend Seth this morning, actually, just impromptu. We need to have an official meeting about it, because now it's a thing. We went from just, dude,
you're on Amazon now. There's no
Amazon.
Joke. Like,
it's real now. Yeah, we made a show, and we made a season 1. We collected it, 9 episodes. We technically have 10 episodes, but the closed captioning for each episode we were doing by hand. Ooh. With the help of Google's closed captioner on YouTube. It'll auto-generate closed captions, and then I would edit it in...
Just do a screen capture or something like that?
No. Well, like an actual, like the hard-coded closed captioning that you can turn on and off. You had to write the line of code to go for it. And so it's always been kind of a hurdle, but now YouTube will automatically close caption and then let you edit. So we would go in and have to re-edit every episode, like go line for line.
From what it assumed, and
break it up, put periods.
Well, it's kind of, and quite literally, I can see exactly where you're going. They're basically using a version of Dragon Nuance, something like that, where it's not going to separate the voices out. You have to go in and say, here's Fox, here's Crow, everything else. Put in the commas.
It adds the time, and you can like time just like a regular timeline, like drag the edges of your closed captioning to the right spots. Make cuts.
Interesting.
It's really like I've learned a lot about it.
That's a great tool.
It is a great tool, and it just took a long time. And we have a 10th episode that we did with a local director blowing up, Owen Edgerton, where we had his son come on, and his son was a pugacorn dog, and he wanted to be a kangaroo mouse. So we did something like 20-something minutes, 25, 27 minutes, and all of our other episodes are like 5 minutes, We were all kind of deciding, like, okay, who's going to close caption the 25-minute episode? And so we were like, no, forget it. That'll be an online exclusive. We'll package these 9 episodes and make a series, call it season 1, put it out, and use it to motivate us to make another season. So we even ended the last episode with a little title card at the end that said, with a picture of Seth and Felix in front of the dumpster that was featured in the episode as the backdrop, and it said, "Bad Spirit Animals will be back in season 2."
Nice.
Just to kind of like,
little teaser,
overpromise, just to kind of motivate us to do it. So we've got some plans. We kind of want to. Seth is a very writer-minded, structure-minded, and Felix is too.
Sure,
but we haven't had an official meeting yet. But Seth wants to put some more structure.
Is it the fact that they want like an arc going across the season, that kind of thing? Like at least something loosely tying them all together.
It's the next challenge for us. Really, we know we can make a cartoon. We have the structure. We have the minimum makings of a cartoon. Now let's turn it into the next step, the next thing.
Yeah.
And for that project, it's adding a narrative, and we would just sit around and talk just like this, and then just animate these puppets over us talking about us, whereas we could lean into those characters a little more and like focus on being a taxidermied crow or being a taxidermied possum, and things that we could do. One of the ideas I won't tell you like too many.
That's okay. That's okay.
Wanted to incorporate some photography into this because I was feeling the itch. Like, I haven't touched my camera in so long. What if we film our friend dressed up as a taxidermist, and he comes in with no head, and he's just like a body who, like you said, is always off screen. Just like walks in to drop in a guest or something, like or like pick us up and take us into another scene, so we can add cut scenes and go to like a different location and advance a narrative. I gave way too much already.
That's okay. I like it. I love the idea, and I'm very excited to hear, number one, that you're keeping the project going. I love it whenever people take the time, to craft a world, craft characters, and then keep it going regardless. Like, it sounds to me like something that whether or not y'all had been picked up by Amazon, you'd probably keep working on it anyway, the three of you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a lot of fun for us.
Yeah.
And I'll work with those guys anytime they want to work. We've developed that relationship from this project. It was kind of like the cauldron that bound us in a well, and it's great how, number one, it's a beautiful story how you randomly happened upon them and were just moved to be like, I think these are the guys to do what I've been thinking about. Yeah, well, it's my friend Mark was the key turning point, because he would hang out with Felix and Seth, and they would talk about wanting to do like a animated thing, and then just on another day he's hanging out with me at band practice, and I'm like, I want to make a cartoon. I think they would be cool. And there's Adobe Character Animator is so easy now. I can understand this, and I could make a thing. And he's like, you guys need to talk. Y'all need to sit down.
Well, and it's just together. Funny how those connections are made. The AV industry is so entirely incestuous in that way, where you know a guy who knows a guy, and that's how things end up happening. Whether it be band wise, whether it be video wise, stuff like that. And I'm so happy to hear that something like that has worked out to such a great end for all of you guys, because it's incredible stuff whenever something that you believe in really starts getting some traction and you start seeing some return on it. So kudos to you.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's great stuff. As we wrap this episode, tell everybody where they can go, to find out more about the videos that you produce for Dirt City, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, actually, it's novelconcept.tv is kind of like the channel.
Well, for the animation.
All the big stuff, well, that's where like all the big video projects, everything we do gets posted there. That's like the artistic outlet. Dirt City Studios is more of just like that's my LLC, and that's how I run the money and file with the government. But I wanted this separate brand, that developed with a friend of mine who we wanted to call it something, and that's novelconcept.tv is where we publish all the stuff we work on together.
Great.
Like he's got 2 videos on his own that just came out, where one just dropped a couple days ago for a band called Cave Bastard. I think it was yesterday. And he did a great job on it. And, we usually work together on projects, and he went off and was doing his own projects, and I'm doing mine right now. And, one of these days we'll get the dream team back together. But it is like, that's where we publish all of the works we do together. We did a thing for Adult Swim with a friend of ours calls himself Coco Freakbean. Who, he directed that. We produced like the production design, all that kind of stuff. But we posted that on novelconcept.tv, even though that was technically his directed piece. We were very much involved with it. And so we, anything we do, it's like the Wu-Tang Clan. We'll just call it novelconcept.tv.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang. Yeah. And then, everything we do is Novel Concept TV. But, Dirt City Studios owns all the equipment.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's very much the same way with HC Productions, HC Universal, and the HC Universal Network. HC Universal is the overarching LLC, and then my bands are DBA'd under the LLC. We should do a whole episode, quite honestly.
The business side. We didn't even get into that.
No, because let's revisit. Let's revisit in a few weeks and do another episode. Quite honestly, I'd love to have you on regularly to talk about stuff like this.
Nice,
because it's hugely important, and a lot of people ask these questions. They want to know how to go about doing it. Now, I'm all about telling everybody and enabling everyone how to go about getting this technology, how to go about living their life, doing what they love doing.
Yeah. File the proper LLC, S Corp or C Corp, which
Yeah. And it depends on what you're doing. Nonsense. It depends on, if you want board members, if you want to be a sole proprietorship or partnership, and all kinds of stuff.
Next time.
We'll get into it another time. So one more time, tell everybody where they can go to see the work of Novel Concept.
The last 4 videos aren't on there yet, but they will be after this. I'll go.
I'm glad to have gotten you on the stick.
Thank you.
Getting
Also,
you working.
Anybody out there who cares at all, there's a memorial fund that I'm promoting for Joe Jennings Memorial Fund on GoFundMe, and it's just at GoFundMe.com /Joe Jennings JENNINGS -memorial-fund. And
he was a good friend to us both.
He was a very
in the broadcast industry. Everybody who worked with him, nothing but amazing things.
Motorcycle accident. So watch out for your 2-wheeled friends.
Yeah, man.
It's not
especially during summertime when people are out there on the bikes, folks. Be cautious, be aware, be a courteous driver, be an aware driver, know your surroundings, know at least a couple car lengths around you. And good God, if you're on a motorcycle, folks, be aware of those around you. Be aware of what you're doing as well. And Marcos, I can't thank you enough for coming on, talking about
everything,
man.
Right. Hey, we're shaking hands.
Absolutely, you can't see the shaking of hands anymore. It's odd. But on that note, while you're online, checking out the awesome work of novelconcept.tv as well as dirtcitystudios.com, feel free to go on and check us out at hcuniversalnetwork.com. That is where you can hear all of the awesome episodes from the HC Universal Network family of podcasts, everything from Dudes and Beer to John Bound Politics, Blah Blah Show.
Shout out to John Bound.
Shout out to John Bound. Shout out to my wife, Amy Pacheco of the Yes But Why podcast, Billy Stewart of Scary Dad podcast, all of the guys over at our newly signed Gentlemen No Class podcast. Great, awesome stuff happening with them. We met them at Comic Palooza this year. Bunch of really great guys. Awesome show. I love having them on the network. We've got a few others in the works as well. We've got, we always have Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano in there. We've got a couple others in development. So make sure to stop on by hcuniversalnetwork.com. Make sure to download our free Android app coming soon to iOS. It's a little bit more of a tricky process getting it on iOS. But we do have the app built. It's just going through actual approvals and all that kind of stuff right now, and uploads. So while you're online getting all that, make sure to stop on by talkingsoundshow.com. That's where you can get all the episodes. That's where you can get all of our technical articles from people like Rupert Neve, Yamaha, Canon. All the new products are right there.
Also, one last plug.
Go ahead, plug it.
Dining with Dogs playing at Beerland next Wednesday.
Yes.
That's my band.
Yes.
Go see Dining with Dogs at Beerland.
Go like them on Facebook.
Austin,
go
Texas.
like them on
Dogs.
Facebook. And absolutely, once again, everybody, and once again, Marcos, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great night. I haven't seen you in so long. It's been great to catch up.
We'll do this again.
Yeah, most definitely. And until next time, everybody, keep reaching for 11. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
This down.